I will go ahead and introduce Neville and Chip. If you guys haven't watched Chip's episode of the Gigs podcast, it's awesome. He's so cool and just has such great wisdom in the industry on the touring side. And Chip's awesome too. So let me start with the bio. Chip has spent most of his life in and around the music, touring, and entertainment transportation industry. A Nashville native and a commercial license holder since 1982, Chip brings more than 4 decades of experience in trucking, live entertainment logistics, fleet operations, driver management, safety, and compliance. His career includes several years with upstaging in safety and operations, followed by serving as GM at Pioneer Production Transportation. In his role as corporate fleet and safety director at Concert Stuff Group, Chip will focus on strengthening safe, compliant, and efficient fleet operations across the company. That is Chip. And then Neville, he is a seasoned transportation veteran with over 40 plus years in the concert touring industry, working for some iconic legendary artists like Prince, Black Sabbath, Alicia Keys, Madonna, among many others. He has grown into multiple leadership roles across Pioneer. He currently is the director of tour relations for Pioneer Coach. And he also founded CDL Platinum, which is a 30-day commercial driving license or driver lifestyle transformation program. It's really, really cool. And he has a book called The Entertainer Bus Driver, inside look concert tours transportation, which you can get on Amazon and Audible. So two awesome guys. They are like yin and yang, and I know you guys are gonna love this class. It will be recorded, so if you miss anyone you know misses it or you want to rewatch it, you can go check on our YouTube in a couple of days. You'll also get an email with the links. We have some more people coming in here. And as always, keep your cameras on or off, up to you. Mic's muted. If you have questions throughout the class, feel free to put them in the chat and I will call on you at the end during our Q&A portion, or you can just save them to yourself and then do the little hand raising reaction that Zoom has for the end and I will call on you. But without further ado, I am going to go ahead and pin Chip and Neville and they will start sharing. Thank you guys. All right, that should be good.
Oh,
Awesome. Chip,
what's
let's do
up?
this.
All right.
Let's do this thing.
Well, here's this part where I have to remember how this technology thing works.
Oh, you can. You shared it earlier. Chip, I got to give kudos to Chip because he pieced together a most awesome uh, present PowerPoint presentation, which is great. So he'll be our play-by-play and I'll be our color commentator. Bingo.
I like it. I like
And
it.
if you don't understand this map, do some more homework. You'll figure it out.
Yeah, David. Yeah, like anybody that's gone out touring, that's a fairly recognizable thing.
Oh
Many
yeah.
years ago, I did decode that it has nothing to do with the dartboard, but actually the position that the states are in the road atlas. Like you can go from California to Connecticut because it's just a couple of pages away. So it's a pretty easy thing. But what we're here today to do is talk about hours of service. There was some confusion that there was something about hosts, but no, it's hours of service.
Hose? Is that
Yeah,
hose?
yeah. We're not actually going to be trying to train anybody as a driver here today. We're just talking about how these hours really do dictate what we can get done inside the touring sphere. Sometimes you might perceive that the drivers are a little fussy. But that's just because they're like going like, man, come on. So
Come
what we're
on,
hoping
man.
here is that at the end of this, that we'll be able to answer these 5 questions about why does hours of service matter if I'm not the driver, what actually counts as work, and how do the clocks control the day. How does touring kind of break up that idea of what the driver is supposed to be trying to get done with his hours, and what should we do differently tomorrow? The first big part of that is, why does it matter if I'm not the driver?
Good question.
Yeah, the rules aren't new. They've been around since 1935. There's been several different iterations of the agencies that regulate it, but the main idea is that they are there to keep drivers from being fatigued on the road and being unsafe. It's always been that way, but life has changed a whole lot since 1935. But the rules are still pretty much in there as a framework. Live events have always pushed the limits of time and movement. Drivers have traditionally been the ones who made it happen. And the way that touring is running right now, touring schedules often ask even more of the driver than before. Small little operational decisions can quietly wreck the day, and there's numbers of things that really dedicate or dictate that, like the timing of load in, where you're going to put the trucks. Is the artist going a little long tonight? Again, the remote lots, and what happens when we're just doing quick little moves in the middle of the afternoon, and what if we ask them to go somewhere extra?
And that happens a lot. We've had a lot of like dock moving violations where now GPS can track everything and it goes in GPS points. So we know when a bus moves or a truck moves and the driver is off duty. We know that now. Back in the day, it was an honorary system where we used like logbooks and they wrote it, but that was definitely some drivers back in the day carried two logbooks, one that was full of lies and one that was actual. So anyways, this works in both the bus world and especially like shower rooms and finishing up. All this stuff affects the hours of service for your drivers, both buses and trucks.
I get asked often about the function of how far can we take the show overnight, and if it's an overnighting situation, you have to stop and think. Well, if I'm getting this thing out at 2 in the morning and I've got to be in at 8 in the morning, it's only giving me 6 hours to move. And what can we get done in that small window? 500 miles ain't it? But it's an interesting calculation on trying to keep it all in the inside the legal space.
Yeah, but as long as you understand the rules and like even the dock moves, I think this all of this really does is help us to be more efficient. And that's like for tour managers, production managers, doing their homework and on the venues and on the how the venue is. It does it have 2 loading docks? Does it have 3 loading docks? Where are my buses parking? Do my opening act that has a trailer? Do I just leave them out in the yard and then an hour later and now the driver has to move that trailer over for unloading, or do I leave him where it is? All these questions have to be answered by the production and tour managers, knowing what the hours of service and what a violation can actually mean to the tour, especially when you get into the coercion laws and stuff. But anyways, sorry, Chip, that was my peanut gallery.
You said it well.
Yeah.
So this was my area. This is where I was brought in from the cold, from the driving world to come into upstaging and actually implement ELD into the world of touring. So it was a great big step of switching from the paper logbook into electronics. But the ELD, or electronic logging device, records the movements of the commercial vehicle and the driver whose credentials are signed into it. It is tied into the electronics of the truck. It has its own set of
and bus
capabilities, and the bus. It ties into the control module of the vehicle. So the bus and trucks both have these similar control modules. It is regulated by the FMCSA, Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. They are the regulatory body for trucking. Think of them the same as the FAA and the little-known FRA for railroads, but all these modes have got their own little separate cadre, and inside of that, they grant powers to a section of the state polices and the state's police, which give them the ability to monitor and keep up with the safety aspects of transportation. So drivers have to keep a legal record of when they work, drive, and rest. The paper logs left lots of room for creative writing and old school tour math. The ELDs changed that by automatically capturing driving time and tightening up the record to know when and where the vehicle is. So what used to disappear into the paper logs now shows up as digital fingerprints when something goes wrong. And I'm not going to bake on that one time. But yes, there's a whole lot of fingerprints left at the scenes of the crime.
There is, and sometimes drivers will actually unplug their ELD, but it's still reading and they don't realize that. And that's a violation thoroughly right there when you do something like that.
And it's seen as it is recorded in the telemetry again. It just is called a power interruption. And when that shows up, the officer goes, huh. But,
and that's especially when we go through audits, when that's always fun when the DOT shows up at your door and goes, hello, we're going to be living here for a week. It's like, great. Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's the only I am from the government and I'm here to help. Yeah. So the driver's time is recognized in two manners. There's both the statuses and the limits. So right here is the four ways that a driver's 24 hours are recorded, either in off duty, sleeper berth, driving, or on duty, not driving. The couple of things inside of these bubbles here. Off duty is a fairly clear definition of it. You're relieved from responsibility, free to do whatever you want. And responsibility is one of those words that weaves itself into the legalese all over the place. And it's pretty simple to ask, am I responsible for doing something right now or not? And so that comes in this, where responsibility shows back up over here in the red bubble for on duty, not driving. That's for all these other things that happen during the workday, those things that you hire the driver for. And so even when they're sitting in a queue, sitting in a line of trucks waiting to go, they're still responsible for being there. So that time actually does count as the on duty, not driving. Of the two top, off duty and sleeper berth, those are the times that don't count against the driver's big 70-hour clock. More on that. But driving and everything on duty, not driving, does count for the actual time that the driver is accountable there.
I want to add a little thing here too, because the FMCSA does understand and does work with the commercial trucking and vehicle industry, and they're actually running a flexible sleep
from CDL Platinum.
Oh shit! Sorry. Hang on.
CDL Platinum.
Sorry. Anyways, they have a program they're running called the Flexible Sleeper Berth Pilot Program, which is doing a split, like a 5-4-5-5, and a split duty period pilot program. And I just wanted to bring something like the FMCSA does listen to us. And when we do lobby, there are certain things that they will consider, and they will run these pilot programs to actually help. They're not our enemy. They're actually working with us. So I just wanted to add that.
Sure. Yeah. They're most definitely our partners. It's they do show up at our offices and develop relations with them where you're able to have candid conversations. I've seen plenty of times when I show them some stuff on screen and watch their eye roll up like Spock, like, huh? Very interesting. So we talked about the statuses. Then here are the limits that that drivers can work under. So the drivers, you'll often hear them probably cite the 14-hour clock. That is from the first point in time that they're going to work after they've had rest. And that 14-hour clock begins, and there's very little that there's not much that stops it. So the 14-hour clock begins at some point in time of their day. Inside of that 14-hour window, they may drive 11 hours. So that's only leaving 3 other hours in the day for work if they're going to actually maximize their 11 hours worth of driving. Inside the live entertainment sphere, we don't really see a whole lot of 11-hour driving days. There's more hours worked than there are hours driven. In general freight logistics, you're going to see these guys doing 11 hours every day. So that's why drivers like to gravitate towards live entertainment transportation. For the trucks, again, they have to have 10 hours worth of rest every day. That actually is calculated as 8 consecutive hours in the sleeper berth or bunk or away, but 8 hours consecutive sleep and 2 hours of off-duty time for them to use as they wish, which would be personal needs, food, whichever. These hours then add up to a 70-hour, 8-day limit. Now, it's not saying they work 70 hours a week. It's a confusing little math formula that only Nate Bargatze can understand. But it is that you can work 70 hours inside an 8-day period. So those 70 hours can actually add up pretty quick if you're not using them and not thinking about your plan for how the driver is going to get his work done during the day.
And it's the same with buses too, though. Let me grab the bus part. So buses get that 15 hours driving, like for working, and they get a 10-hour drive time. I wish the drivers had 11. It would be awesome for buses because we could go Nashville to Washington without having co-drivers. But we get an 8-hour. The reason I wanted to jump on this, Chip, was because of the 8-hour daily rest requirement. A lot of tour managers don't realize that 8 hours actually starts for a bus driver when he gets to the hotel. And I know this firsthand because we went through a lawsuit a number of years ago, probably 2008, 2009, somewhere around there, where a truck driver fell asleep, went across a median, one of our buses at 4 a.m, didn't have anywhere to go, hit the vehicle, had to get air cared, and the driver in the wrong was the truck driver, not the bus driver. But in the lawsuit, everybody, the lawyers sued everybody. And for 3 years, I had to go through, and Pioneer, we had to go through all that red tape, litigation, lawyers throwing darts to see what's going to stick. And it opened my eyes on safety. And that's one of the reasons Pioneer was the first to adapt ELDs before it was even mandated, because I wasn't going to go to court or to jail for somebody or somebody's fault of trying to circumvent legalities, and it wasn't going to happen. So the daily rest thing, when they did videos of when my driver went and checked into the hotel and when he left the hotel, that's when they told me he had to have been there for 8 hours in that hotel from when he checked in to when he actually checked out. And I just wanted to bring that because that's something really important. And tour managers, production managers need to keep that in the back of their mind, especially coercion laws. If the tour manager mandates the driver to come back earlier than that, then that tour manager is liable if something should ever happen. So it's something to seriously consider. And the 70 hours is the same. That 870 roll thing is the same with trucks as well. So that's something that we don't run into it too often, but I have run into it once or twice where a tour would go, "Why are you sending out a co-driver when my driver has only got 4 hours to drive?" It's like, well, because you've been running like 600, 700 miles for the last 5, 6, 7 days. And now it's not an hour often, but it has happened a couple times in a blue moon.
Sure. And with that 8 hours, receipts. The 70-hour thing is, we've mentioned it enough. We're going to throw a really confusing slide in here in just a minute, but throw in our thing.
Oh, Canada. Hang on, let me stand up. Oh, Canada.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you got your Canada creds.
I'm dual citizen. Yeah.
So the in Canada, they simplify it and they have one set of clocks for both bus and truck, but it's a little different. They actually acknowledge that their big West is mighty big, so they allow 13 hours worth of driving time.
Yeah.
They break it up a little bit differently. You can,
because there's nothing between, what is that, Winnipeg and Calgary or Edmonton. There's nothing. It's just
Edmonton, Vancouver. Yeah, it's a crazy big long drive, but they work it just a little bit differently with their 10 hours off. The driver only needs 8 hours in the bunk, and then you can split up your 2 hours all through the day. With the US, you have to have the 10 hours together. In Canada, the 10 hours can be split across the day, and that's how they work the 16 and 13 function. Now, until ELDs came on the scene, most of us in most US-based carriers were oblivious to this interesting thing that's down right here. the driver must have had at least a 24-hour break before the 14th day. Suddenly we were having violations up in Canada, and we did not understand this. And I think you have to have some Molsons before being able to fully grasp what's going on. But
or Crown Royal, that works
yeah,
too.
some Crown, yeah. But yes, you have to have had at least one day off every 2 weeks,
or
and
one beer.
yeah, Bob and Doug. So the thing that's interesting there that happens is it doesn't matter which side of the border you're on. If you have worked solidly for 30 days in the U.S. at the point in time that you cross the Canadian border, you're out of service until you've had 24 hours off.
Yeah.
So,
and you got to be aware of it coming back too. Like if you're doing a cross country Canada thing where you're starting in Vancouver and you end up in Toronto and now you're coming back across the border, you have to be aware of those hours are going to flip, and the hours that you drove are going to come over into the US regulations.
Right. It does that. It's a confusing one. Okay. Just when you thought that you had it all figured out. So this is how that 70-hour clock works. It's a rolling scale.
There will be a quiz at the end of this.
Right. It's based on today's work and the previous 7 days. So 1 + 7, 8. So they call it the 9th day drops off. But let's go back to the top and take a look at that for a second. So when you have had a reset, you have 70 hours available. And then the first day, if you work 12 hours, that's going to take you down to 58 hours available. And these hours keep coming off of your tally until you have another rest break. So you could work to a point where you have no hours left, and you would have to take time off. You would have to park for a reset period, which is either going to be 34 hours off duty or several days, but the minimal number is 34 hours of off duty time. Think of it as the weekend.
This is truck night,
right? But there's some other little clever things in there. If you manage your time, if a driver is able to manage the time and keep their time at only about 8 3/4 hours worked a day, they'll never run out of time. The balance will keep rolling over and keep them available to work. But as soon as you start working 9 and 10 and 11, 12-hour days, you start canceling out your ability to continue to work without having a break coming in. So that comes into play in touring most often when you're jumping the show from coast to coast. Just the regular touring, moving the show, 5, 6 hours a day, a couple hours worth of work, you're never going to run out of time. But if you start jumping the show coast to coast or having a lot of very long, significant drives in there, that's when you're going to run out of time based on that 70-hour function. So basically trying to keep your drivers working just in the neighborhood of 8.5, 9 hours a day. They won't run into this 70-hour problem, but they will become fatigued as they're not getting a whole lot of their rest.
And just on that last slide, can you translate that into Bitcoin for me?
Well,
anyways, no,
yeah.
I just wanted to add like to that on the, usually we can tell on the routing. When I get routing for a tour and I see what they have, and it's like 2 days to get here or whatever. If the driver does his homework, or if the tour manager really does his homework and looks at the map in a proper manner as to the mileages and how long it's going to take there, use your master tour stuff, you can have a general idea before the tour even rolls whether this is going to be a problem. And that's why it's so important for y'all to understand the hour of service regulations and rules. Because if you do know it, you'll know just as soon as you get that routing, or booking agents, when they're doing the routing, they're booking the tours. They're ones that I wish they were on this call, because they need to know this stuff on a legal aspect, dear booking agents. So yeah, we can move on.
Sure. The thing that we say that rest periods aren't just downtime; they're safety equipment, because fatigue is real. Fatigue catches up to anybody. When I moved, I'm well aware of it from time on the road. But then, as I moved to the wearing the safety cap, I can't tell you the amount of times when I've called a driver to discuss a problem with them, and I get, man, do we have to talk about this right now? I'm so tired. I can't even think straight. I've been up for 30 hours. It just makes me crazy. So the fatigue does sneak in there. And the it's very important to consider that, because that is the point in time that that crashes happen. The there's so many incidents I could cite.
Yeah.
I just swore to myself after a very bad accident that I was never going to allow another driver to meet that fate. And it's been a very strong focus of mine that fatigue is very real. And if your drivers are working to the point that they can't even focus, that's a point in time that we need to have a chat and make sure that that you can get that driver some rest.
That's the whole reason hours of service became law in 1938, was basically it was created to prevent fatigue related crashes. So it's going all the way back to when it was first implemented by the ICC, and it's still to this day. But then now you can even talk about, and which we will get to, is distracted driving, cell phones and squirrel.
Squirrel. Yep. I mentioned on that one slide, the truck has a sleeper, but is the location of the truck where the driver can get restorative sleep.
That's a good point.
I can only say, imagine you're on an electronic band show.
Oh yeah, EDM,
and you're at the dock of the amphitheater. That 100,000 watts of sub is going to be going right straight through the truck, and I can tell you, the driver ain't getting any sleep.
Ain't that the truth? We need to soundproof the sleeper burst then, just like you do in a recording studio.
The truck would be too heavy.
No, you're talking. I'm talking foam. Like if you look at recording studios with the foam and the foam baffles, and then you put in a white noise machine thing that does the white noise, maybe they could get sleep. It'll go along with the thump.
Yeah. Neville has gone off the reservation.
Just coming up with ideas.
Right, I like it. Overdrives, explain the old mindset. So overdrives simply is another way of saying a bribe to get the pay in there for going ahead and getting something done that wasn't supposed to be there. So overdrives have to be off of the language nowadays. But then, and it built a touring industry. It was the extra pay for doing the impossible. So that was getting it there. So now the ELD records everything about the trip, and when there is an incident, it is all investigated, and that would show up as a pretty bad moniker for how things were getting done. So
hey, Chip, I liked your story about the 450 miles on the overdrives. Share that. That's a good
sure. In doing my homework as to where Overdrive first came on the scene, it actually originated with the circus. And when
we are a circus, though.
Well, we are. But when you were moving shows back in the 50s and 60s, you were in a thing called an old GMC cracker box. And if you did 450 miles, you deserved extra pay, because you're going to need that for your hospital bills. The old trucks were just brutal. The modern trucks that we're driving today, it's one finger in the wheel, and 700 miles in a shift is not a problem. They're having an air-conditioned luxury, satellite radio, 5.1 surround. It's just awesome.
Back in the day, you got to consider it like driving a hardtail Harley across the country.
Yeah, it wasn't easy.
Your kidneys don't like that.
But also, it was in the paper log era, and it was just it's like, hey, no problem. Here, have some more money. But now, if you got 90 trucks on a tour, that extra money 90 times, it starts to get kind of expensive.
It's huge. Yep.
The old mantra of the show must go on. So the old mindset is still prevalent today. You know, so the tours aren't trying to force a violation; they're trying to keep the show moving, and the pressure is often implied and not announced. We have to go can feel just as powerful as a direct order.
Mm-hmm.
But a quick move may sound harmless, but it can interrupt rest, start the clocks over, reduce tomorrow's availability for getting the job moved. So the good intentions don't change the math.
Right.
Fatigue, legal limits, and ELD records don't care why the decision was made. The
Yeah.
it just is something that has to be thought about.
So I want to add, just in simple terms, the coercion rule basically says no one can pressure, threaten, or force a commercial driver to break a federal safety law. And that includes employer, dispatch, broker, shipper, receiver, transportation, or anyone involved in the load. Just FYI.
Anybody in there. So as the lead driver that would suddenly be facing a problem on a job, let's say the artist played an extra hour and just rambled on, and things were a little crazy, and the stage hands were getting a little fussy about getting the job out, and suddenly it's 3:30 or 4 in the morning when we should have been on the road 1:30 or 2. And I'll have the driver saying, "Man, we're going to have to fly. We're going to have to go." And I would stop and always counsel them. It's like, "Hey, I don't book them. I just drive them." And the intent there is that it's not my problem that the artist went long. That's going to be on them. I can't be blamed for not being there at 8 a.m. the next morning when you're only giving me 4 hours to go somewhere. So it's just, the driver has to maintain a particular place that says, I'll do this my professional best. I'll be safe. I'll get it there. But I didn't start the clock late.
Yeah. So I want to add on the bus end, like where you get the lead singer getting some favors by something, and it's bus call was at 1 o'clock and now you don't leave till 4 a.m. That's tour managers, production managers. If you know this goes back not to HOA, it goes to hose. But if you go back to your responsibility with the logistics and your responsibility with getting the tour done efficiently and within where it's not costing the artist so much money, it's up to the tour manager to be able to intervene, or else just if it happens night after night, just say, "Hey, I'll call you when we're ready to roll," and leave the driver at the hotel, and then call if you're ready to roll at 3 a.m. then roll at 3 a.m. Just don't have the driver leave his hotel room at 1 o'clock to get there, and then you don't leave for 3-4 hours. That's right. He's basically on duty. He's rolled into his 14-15 hours.
He started work. He reported for work and is now just waiting because he's responsible to drive the bus.
Yeah.
So what touring habits break the plan? So the late loadout, early call after poor rest. That would be say again having a bad day and then getting the driver to the hotel, and then say the show gets canceled and you call the driver back and he's not had his rest. That's a problem. Assuming that waiting is free time, say there's only 2 loading docks and you've got 40 trucks, all that time that the guys are waiting is actually on duty. It's not that they just so happen to have been parked there.
Well, it's same with traveling. Like when you talk about co-drivers, I know we didn't get into this, but the travel time for a co-driver is actually on duty. If he goes straight into driving, if he flew 4 hours, lands in Cleveland, at the show, you're leaving 2 hours later or whatever, he has to mark that 4-hour flight and the flight in there as on duty time. It's not off duty. So that's why a lot of times we'll fly someone, say you're going Albany to Chicago, instead of flying the driver into Albany, which you can fly him into Cleveland. He gets a whole night's sleep. Well, the bus rolls through at 5 in the morning or 10 in the morning, and that co-driver takes over and then continues and finishes up the Chicago run. So those are things that, as a tour manager and a production manager, you need to consider and work with. Like, we'll work with the transportation company on the best cases scenarios that are most efficient for you and staying within the safety realm. Sorry, Chip, I just want to throw that in there.
No, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
The so the yeah, the remote parking is always a tricky one. When the venue goes to selling the parking places, and they say, "Oh, well, hey, we got places to park the trucks over at the fairgrounds across town." You need to now consider that your load out is going to be a bit compromised with your trucks trying to swim upstream into the egress from the building. And
ain't that the truth? I've seen that so many times.
So you got to consider, is it good to sell those parking spaces, or is it good to have the trucks on site? Unplanned fuel service vendor stops, i.e. breakdowns. If you're not allowing the truck to be repaired and then something does go wrong, that can kind of mess up your whole hours plan. And then the asking for one quick move. Can you bring me that one case that's on your truck? Or we need to have you move over there, that you're not parked in the right place. Those are the ones that will always get you. We play with that in this scenario. If the driver was doing just fine, parked at the loading dock, but then, hey, can you move it out of here? We need that parking space.
Yeah.
And you do that in the middle of the afternoon. This is now voided the driver's ability to get a full 8-hour rest break.
Well, the 8-hour rest break starts from when he pops the brake on that move. So if you had him do that move like at 2:00 in the afternoon, and he was there at 7 and did the load out, was unloaded by, say, 9:00, went to his parking spot, parked up, and then at 2:00 for some reason you have him move. The minute that truck moves, now he has to reset back into that 8-hour or the 10-hour break, or in a bus, an 8-hour break. It just moved it forward. So if you had a 1 a.m. bus call, now you might not be able to have a bus call till 4:00 in the morning.
The lower image was based on experience of being on a job that had a pretty strong party reputation. And I was asked to get the trucks out of the loading dock and come back to find that basically it was a full-on cocktail party in the parking lot. So those things will make you go like, really? What the heck was being thought of here? Like a loading dock is a great place to have a party.
A good barbecue spot.
Right.
For sure, yeah.
But yes, if you ask the guy to move in the middle of the afternoon, the ELD is going to record that move, and it can be seen that interrupted the break, and now things have to start all over again. So be very careful about moving the vehicles, buses or trucks, in the middle of the afternoon.
Cool.
So, what should we do different tomorrow? Well, obviously, the advancing the gigs is always best as possible. Keep that as a big front and center part of moving the job down the road. Protect the driver's rest. Don't ask him to do things all during the day, and also try to help him be in a position where he's actually getting real rest and not getting it broken up by like sound check or again the amphitheater situation. The ask the right questions, not can you, but what does this do to your clocks and rest? Hey, can you move this for me? Well, no, I'm already in the sleeper. It would be how that might sound. So then treat the driver time as finite. Every delay, request, and reposition spends a legal resource. Don't consider the driver as a labor source for side gigs. That can also be real time counted against the clock. That's saying there's plenty of times that the drivers are used for either throwing cotton or being the camera operator. That's on duty, and that's supposed to be recorded on their clocks. So be aware of the legalities and the regard for safety. The culture of what we do has always prized flexibility, but the hours of service can punish ambiguity. So what's he mean by that? The idea that some somebody might park their truck up and then not list the moves that they did to load the show in, and thinking that they're gaining their hours back. The Where that might get punished is if there were an investigation and all of a sudden it looks
Yeah.
like the person did not record their work when they were in that town for a reason. In other words, the driver's logbook might show that they drove from city A to city B and then on to city C, but they didn't show any work in city B. It would be like, well, why'd you go there? So there was work to be done.
Exactly. And like I mentioned before on the litigation thing, like what we went through, I mean, they look at everything, especially if there's an injury or a fatality, they will turn and there will be no stone left unturned.
Oh,
And they
it's
will, yeah. So this is for everybody. Like, I mean, you don't want your riggers going up there fatigued and putting up a show and stuff. And the same thing, you don't want your drivers to be fatigued and that's why we, in our contracts, it's like a 3-star hotel or better, a Hampton Inn or something. I don't know if any of you have ever stayed in a Night's Inn or one of those places with a flat pillow and you're sleeping on might as well sleep on a piece of plywood. You're not going to get rest. So I know it could be budget things or, oh, they don't have enough. Safety trumps budget. And it's not that much money to just stay in a Hampton Inn or a Garden Inn or something like that. It's safety and sleep is so important, and you want everyone to be rested because if you don't have a rested driver, especially a bus driver, nobody in the bunks are going to get sleep. And then if that translates into a whole week, people get sick and it runs through the whole thing and it affects the show. It starts with A and goes all the way to Z, and that safety aspect is so important on everything, on the whole mosaic of what we do. And we love what we do. I mean, I love this industry, best industry in the world, best
the
people in the world, like Lucas and Mike and all my buddies up there, Lauren, and yeah, it's a beautiful industry. We love it because we have a passion for it. And that's
right.
why I love Giggs. Giggs is, thank you for coming in this world and doing what you did. And
My
Chip, you are
my
awesome. Yeah.
oh, stop it. The my hotel thing of Night's Inn versus Hampton Inn. I like to
Oh,
always say the idea is how many times have you gone up to a hotel and you can picture it wrapped in crime scene tape. That's my measure of whether it's a good hotel or not. But
I think that might have happened to me once. But
right,
it's
the safety number line there is one that tries to help explain what is safety, and it's the opposite of risk. And you can try to be completely safe, or you'll be risky. And the crossroads of that is the crossroads of compliance and complacency. So we want to be operating to the right side of this line at all times. We know that the world is real out there, that you can never achieve the full green zone, but we want to be in the green there. Just because Neville loved the slide and made it back in here, there you go, Neville. Have at it.
Oh, the violations really the most expensive part. Well, this just, I don't want to be redundant, but it goes back to litigation. And it really is about litigation and doing things on the up and up, because just to do things honestly, and this goes from everything, just telling the truth, that's the right thing to do. Even if you went over, like I would tell my drivers, if you did go over like half an hour, because if I stopped the bus, we would have been on the perimeter. And now, I just went in the other way. Just tell me the truth. Don't try and, yeah, I'll get you a little violation, but I'll put, in something in there that says, okay, driver, da, 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 da. Just be honest. Really,
Right.
that's really what it boils down to. And let's all work together. Go to your lead driver on the truck side or bus side, and then just go over it like on day one, like when you have a little bit of time, or maybe even before the tour fires off, just take a phone call or a Zoom call with your 2 lead drivers and have a little discussion. Like, I mean, what's 15 minutes or 30 minutes in a Zoom call going over what's going on with the nuts and bolts of the tour? That creates the first impression. That creates the first step. So those would be things that I would recommend on tours. I'd love to see that. So,
All right.
yeah.
Here we are at the far end of it. Yay.
Yay. We made it.
Let's go for some good questions. It's got to be kind of fun. I like the impossible questions, or ones I would call a lightning strike question, like the one I have on there. But
if you're in Canada, always carry Timmy Hortons donuts, and you'll never get a ticket.